Sick. Magic.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Ghostly Stories brought to you by Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio. I am your host, Roger Belt, and my co host, Mr. William Wallace. And we're kind of going to do a two-parter thing tonight because uh, I'm going to tell you a little story about someone being in love with a ghost. And then we're going to talk about, is that really possible, and other aspects of the afterlife. So without further ado, William, man the camera while I pull this up and read it for everybody. Okay. This story is called In Love with a Ghost. It has been death and the love of it. I've only familiarized myself with it all too much. Not only does it depress me, but a deep fascination grips me as well. I have researched the paranormal in every way. By reading books, researching online, practicing rituals, watching television shows, and visiting my hometown's most haunted locations. Nothing in my life has fascinated me more. If anything, my career would be a paranormal investigator. There is so much we don't know, and I know this is what invited him into my home. I've always wanted to live in a haunted house, not with a demon or any angry spirits, just restless spirits with their somber presences that only seem to intrigue humanity. I always wished and have openly asked that a spirit come wandering into my home. Never did I think that I would be hopelessly in love with one. It must have been all the places I have been to, haunted locations. Maybe I conjured the spirit up, maybe I attracted him. I came home from school one day as usual, my backpack slung on the back of one of our kitchen chairs, home alone until my mother got home from work. I sat in the chair and turned it around to face the window, looking outside. One of our table chairs slid out and turned around facing me, all on its own. I was terrified and ran back to the front door. I didn't run outside. My hand nervously gripped the door handle as I took in what had just happened. The way the chair turned around on its own, it didn't seem threatening. I'm not sure why, but I walked back to the kitchen and, despite my chattering teeth, took a seat back in the chair. I stared at the empty chair, trying to visualize whatever I could. Then I started to see it, the outline, a hazy shade of a human form. It took a while of staring at the figure, and the longer I looked, the better it came to me visually. It looked like a teenage boy no older than myself. Then it disappeared altogether. I blinked, truly fascinated by what I had just seen. Later that night, I got ready for bed. I sat on the side of my bed while flipping the TV channels. It was weird now that I think about it. I started to feel very cold. It became unbearably cold around my waist. There was pressure around my waist as well. I was shocked but shifted a bit, and the spot where I was sitting became unbelievably cold too. I felt like I was sitting in someone's lap and they had their arms around me. The pressure from the hug was treated very gingerly, and I will honestly say that I liked it. The hug lasted only for about 5 minutes and then it vanished. All cold pressure vanished. It didn't casually fade. I said aloud, for I did not want the spirit to go, that I wanted it to stay. But I had no further interactions for the remainder of that month. I think that it started to become active again at least a month and a half ago. I had started to think that I only imagined the whole thing. I had been reading, sitting in a plush chair in my bedroom when I felt a sudden cold pressure on my wrist, which was being held forcefully but gingerly against the arm of the chair. Alarmed, I looked up and saw the apparition clearly, like I had thought it was a teenage boy, maybe a year and a half older than I was. His hair was black and bushy. His eyes were a hazy green. From what I could tell, he was athletic looking. His pale face had a pointed chin. A name was whispered in my mind. It was Jacques. I never expected anything like this to happen. The ghost leaned forward and kissed me passionately. I love that. I can just picture that. It's much better than kissing someone who is alive. Right. I love cold, dead lips on mine. Again, I admit that I like this experience, particularly after at least 30 seconds, the sensation of the kiss vanished. I have had current happenings similar to the story I have written here. A few days ago, I came home and had worried all day that my mother would get home before I did and find that my room was a mess and that the bed was unmade. My mother is a bit of a neat freak. I was surprised to find my room tidy and my bed was well made. My mom had beaten me home, but I snuck past her. The way the bed was made was different from the way my mom makes it and the way that I do as well. I figured out that it was her and tossed my book bag onto my bed and said a small greeting to Jacques, who by now I'm used to hearing from every morning, afternoon, and walked downstairs. My mom had come home before I had and was typing on her laptop in her room. She thanked me for cleaning up my room and complimented on the style that the bed had been made. It must have been the way people made beds from when Jacques had been alive, if he ever was. Just as my mother had said, this is a very cold breeze blew past my right arm. I'm not sure how this was possible, but I detected an air of smugness. I love Jacques and love having him around. Now, okay. A house cleaning ghost. Not only a house cleaning ghost, but a passionate kissing house cleaning ghost. What more can you say?
Well, you did say that this was about being in love with a ghost. That's what we're going to, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And that is, as we spoke of earlier, that's one of those things that you kind of wish that something like that could be true. And I have seen stranger things, but I have a hard time thinking that Jacques would be so domestically inclined.
Right. Yeah. Let me make your bed for you and
Right.
clean
So
up
I
the
mean,
room.
really,
You know,
I don't know. I don't know if bed making and house cleaning is something that somebody would do for. But if Jacques is also, that's Jacques is Jacques. Okay, it's the French Jacques. And how appropriate that this young teenage girl has a French lover with a pointed chin and green eyes who makes her bed and kisses her passionately on the couch. But I can't say it's not true because this is ghostly stories.
well,
It's not a science class.
she's talking about feeling like she was sitting in somebody's lap and cold arms around her waist. You know, to me, that would feel like I was sitting in a bucket of ice with a dead fish laying across my lap. I'm sorry, but you know,
So There are obviously advantages to having a spirit boyfriend or a spirit lover, okay? Because your spirit lover, your spirit boyfriend is going to react to you. They're going to react to the energy that you give them. And that's how spirits act in my experience, my personal experience, okay? I have never made out with a couch on with the spirit on the couch. I've never stared into the window and seen a beautiful green-eyed spirit look back at me. I do have a story about looking out a window and my grandpa scaring the bananas out of me, but that's not exactly applies to can spirits love us or do they miss us?
I picked this story because it does make you ask that question: is it possible? And at the same time, it had a kind of funny twist to it, so it was kind of a double win situation, you know.
And I agree with you. I mean, because it is within the realm of possibility.
Right.
Okay. We can believe that a pair of scissors can fly across the room and stick in a wall. All right, and say that that's a poltergeist activity. We can believe that a gas stove will turn itself on and off and on and off all night long. Okay, spinning the dials, not just a gas leak catches the pilot. We can believe these things. So this fantasy, could it possibly be reality? Well, that's the key word. It's possible. Is it possible? Is it possible for an image of a woman to be 30 foot tall and float over a mountain? It's possible. People have seen it. Is it possible for people who are dead to be brought back to life by the sound of their children crying? It's possible. It's happened. So having a domesticated boyfriend who is cold as ice, yeah, it's possible.
It reminds you of the Foreigner song, "Cold as Ice."
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Well, now, if I was going to have a ghostly lover,
Mm-hmm.
it would be an added addition if she made the bed and cleaned up the room, you know.
Dishes. That would be it. Yeah. It would be great if she did the dishes. That would be great.
Yeah, did the dishes and, you know.
Did the dishes. Oh, and fold laundry.
Now, I don't know about ghostly soup or anything like that, but
No, after I was in the Navy, folding clothes. You had to fold your clothes specifically in one way only, and if it wasn't folded that way, they get thrown across the room. You had to go pick them out of the pile and fold them again. So folding clothes has always been just a daily chore or a weekly chore I just did not like.
well, and making the bunk too.
My spirit lover had better know how to fold clothes.
Better know how to make a tight bunk too.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go.
I remember when I was in boot camp, when the drill sergeant would come in, if he couldn't make a quarter bounce on that bed, he'd tear it up and you'd have to do it all over again.
Exactly. So.
But anyway,
Okay, I'm on video here. All right, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of different things that could happen that we can't say they can't happen. It's just amusing that, as you said, this story has a double meaning. Is it possible you can wish for a thing so badly that you can find it? Is it possible that you would go into a haunted location and just so very much be open to the thought of there being a spirit that would be like Casper the Ghost, the friendly spirit.
Yeah. And, but then you got to ask yourself,
and having that entity pick up on your being open, and then presenting itself in a way that would be acceptable to you.
Exactly. But going to all these haunted locations, as this person claimed, what would be the chance that a person or a spirit around her age or just a little older than her would follow her home?
Well, don't you think that a spirit would be able to present itself? I mean, you've heard of Burlington, Vermont.
There's no way to answer it.
Hang it up. It's a ghost.
It's a ghost.
It's a ghost.
Talking about things right
Yeah.
now. My father couldn't stand it. He lived in Burlington.
Okay.
I've never heard of Burlington.
We're having a little bit of a spirit crisis right here, right now. My phone just rang. I don't know if you heard that or not. And I don't know anybody in Burlington, Vermont, but Burlington, Vermont just called. And Burlington, Vermont is people's father's hometown. So anyway, this spirit would present itself in such a way as to be acceptable to her because she's the one who called it out. Okay, so you have doppelgangers. A doppelganger. This is a very common event at the Victorian. Again, please forgive me for mentioning the Victorian again.
Okay, a doppelganger, though, isn't that supposed to be like a twin?
Yes, and that's what happens. Somebody will be up on the third floor. A doppelganger of that person on the third floor will present themselves to somebody who's investigating down on the first floor. Their conversation will happen. The doppelganger leaves, and then the person on the first floor says, "Where did you go?" And the person on the third floor calls down and says, "What are you talking about?" See what I'm saying? It's that a spirit can adjust to the needs of the person who's.
So in other words, this spirit may not be that age. That's just what they're presenting themselves as.
Right, and it's not that spirit may not be Jacques, may not be the teenage boy approximately her age. It may be something that she wants to encounter, so the spirit adjusts itself accordingly, so as to encourage this for whatever reason. I mean, I don't know.
So it could be a dirty old man spirit presenting itself as a teenage boy to get close to her.
Well, all right, we know who's going to go on that sexual predator watch list there, Roger.
Just saying.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, it could be something like that, and it would be. I don't think it would be beyond the realm of probability to have something like that manifest in that way for that reason, specifically for that reason. There are so many different things on trial when we put down our spirituality against the scientific community. There was a gentleman who we were speaking to the other day, and he's a tech guy, man. I'm telling you, he's got all the bells and whistles, and that guy has forgotten more than I think I'll ever know about EVPs and equipment and IR cameras and FLIR and all these other things. And that is science. And the other part of that, the other end of the seesaw that has to be used to balance out the science, is that your science is useless if you don't believe that it's going to do anything. And your spirituality is useless if you have to have science prove what you believe to be true. Do you understand what I'm saying with that?
Well, I mean, in the paranormal field, you know, you have to use both sides of the fence there. You know, you have to use your scientific, you know, equipment and all that stuff. But then again, you have to use your open-minded imagination.
Why would somebody create something that would pick up an EVP if they didn't see a need for it?
True.
See,
you know,
so that's why I think
there's some people that don't need a recorder to hear.
Right. But how are they going to prove to somebody else what they heard? And see, that's where I think that this story was cute. Jacques was the green-eyed lumber boy that she perhaps had imagined. And so the spirit presented itself in such a way as to making the bed and doing these other things like that. It's a very powerful spirit to be able to manipulate this side of the veil. Yes?
Now, also, it's been my understanding and my experience that although there are spirits that can harm you and shove you and you know, do things like that, I don't think I've ever heard of one having the energy to be able to go in and clean up a room and make a bed. Just saying,
Well,
you know.
right, and so her assessment of all these things comes to, pushes the credibility even of those of us who have gone into haunted locations and seen or whatever. But we always ask them to respond to us. Very seldom do we ever just turn around and say, do your best. Whatever it is you want to do, you just do it.
Right.
I'm here to document it. Okay, we say, how do you like it being here? Well, you know, you're sitting underneath the bridge in the middle of winter. Damn, there's not much going on. I don't think I like it. You know, or because I know a place in Leominster that's just absolutely saturated with spirit. And asking a question, well, what are you doing down here? I'm stuck. If I wasn't stuck down here, do you think I'd stay underneath the bridge in the middle of Leominster? No.
Go into a haunted location and put a bed in there and mess it up and say, could you make this bed up for me?
Yeah. Good luck with that. I do believe.
I can't wrap myself around this whole it cleaned up my room and made my bed thing. I just,
Yeah, well, we are allowed our opinions and our differences of opinion. And this whole thing starts off with that spirit, however it was that had attached to her, it did attach to her. Okay, I have seen a very strong-willed woman, completely dominated for 3 days by a spirit. Documented. Okay, the event as it happened. This woman had no idea what was going on. Put her makeup on differently, wore clothes she would never have worn together. A very active person who just stopped everything in their life, curled up on a couch and stayed there for 3 days. A very loving and open person who just screamed and hollered at the top of her lungs at the person who she loved more than anything else in the world. That's pretty manipulative. I mean, did the spirit manipulate the world around her? Yes, through that person. The spirit possessed that person and manipulated her world doing that. So making a bed or possessing another human being. You know, how do we quantify strengths and powers and abilities? I think that when I think of the one, in retrospect, when I think of the one, making a bed isn't too much. You know, picking up your dirty clothes and putting them in the hamper, that's not too much. Do I think that this story is a little bit of teenage romance? Yeah, I think it is.
and I'm not saying it's not possible. I've even heard stories of actual people supposedly having sex with a ghost. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You know, now was it intentional and enjoyable? That I can't say, but of course, that's what an incubus and a succubus does also.
Right.
Present themselves, as a man or a woman, attractive, as Cartman would say, here I am looking all buff, So
well, I have that problem all the time. All the ladies.
Anyway, yeah, I mean,
when you talk about the incubus and succubus, just the use of those specific words, okay, generates, of course, the religious connotations of them being demonic. When you talk about, let's just say, a woman, her husband dies. That night, when she's in bed that night, she feels the bed sink because she feels somebody sit on the bed beside her. She smells his cologne. She feels him move the hair away from her forehead, and she feels that hug, and then she's better, and it's gone. All right.
I have a question as far as incubus and succubus. They
Right.
present themselves, like I said, as a attractive male or female person, right?
Don't know.
Okay. Now, in our store tonight, we have a spirit who is interacting with this person, but in an incubus and a succubus event, would they appear as real people or spirit people?
I don't know. I think that's a spirit's ability to interact with from that side of the veil to this side of the veil does not necessarily have to go under what title we give them. As I was saying about the husband and the wife, okay, I don't think that the wife feels as if she's having an encounter with an incubus.
Right.
If her husband comes and comforts her, I don't think that every teenage boy who ever had a wet dream had an encounter with the succubus. I think maybe the legend of the succubus was created because there were just too many unexplained wet dreams in the boarding school,
Well,
But
I'm just saying, I'm wondering if, when these people supposedly have their encounters with a incubus or a succubus, because I've never encountered anything like that,
right.
Would they feel real and look real, or would they be like in this Jacques kind of thing where they're
Jacques.
sort of a spirit form?
Right. Okay, it's not Jacques, it's Jacques. It's the French Jacques.
Okay, whatever. So he's French.
Like Frere Jacques.
And what
Frere
better, right?
Jacques.
For a young girl to have a spirit, not only a spirit lover, but he's French too. Oui, oui, monsieur.
Bonjour, madame.
I come to take you away.
So that is certainly going on to one of the extremes, okay? When we're talking about, physical and emotional attachment to something that would probably be detrimental to her interaction with people on this side of the veil, okay? If she doesn't have to worry about meeting a boyfriend or going through that teenage clumsiness of the dating game and like that because she's got a spirit lover at home, what wonderful escapism that is, okay?
Right.
She doesn't have to play. Everything's all taken care of because all she has to do is, sit in the kitchen, look out the window, and there he is looking back at her. That and that there's all kinds of, I'm sure, psychiatric multisyllabic words that could be used to say this is just a teenage fantasy. But I do believe that there is a time when a great emotional bond transcends death. And that's the second story that we have, and this is what I have here. Now, I don't have the name of the person who authored this. Whoever it is, it was well thought out. It was put together very well. And I'm not trying to plagiarize anybody, but I know that I am because I don't have the credits for the person who wrote this. But please understand, I admire the person because they...
Okay, so the person that wrote this, be it known that we do credit you for the story, we just don't know who you are.
I don't know who you are. Right, I don't know who you are, so there's nothing I can do about it right now. Okay, and the question is, and it's based on what we were talking about for tonight's subject matter, is do the dead miss us?
Oh, and we do also credit the young lady that wrote the story that I read for y'all too. And I do, I did have her name. Let me see if it's in my thing real quick. Oh crap! I don't even know if I saved it. Okay, here it is. Crap. No, it's not in here. Anyway,
you can look for that, Roger, while I'm reading my story, okay?
Okay, go ahead and do that. I'm gonna
All right.
see if I can get her name real quick so that we can give her credit for this.
Okay. And tonight's story is, or tonight's subject matter is dead in love. And so the question that was presented by the author was, do the dead miss us? And the author writes, my husband passed away recently. We were super close, total soulmates. I just need to know if he's missing me as much as I'm missing him. Do deceased people pine away for us after death like we do for them? Answer, generally speaking, no. Dead do not miss the living. I know that sounds horrible. I'm sorry. But let's look at death from their perspective so you'll understand why they don't miss us like we miss them.
Okay, her name is Kirby, and she didn't give a last name, so we do want to give credit to you, Kirby. That was a great story, and by all means possible. Having said that, I'll let William continue there with where he's at.
You all set?
Go ahead.
Okay, do the deceased people pine away for us after death like we do for them? The answer, generally speaking, no. Dead do not miss the living. I know that sounds horrible, but let's look at death from their perspective, so you'll understand why they don't miss us like we miss them. When your loved one dies, he's greeted on the other side by loved ones who have crossed over before him. He goes back to the light of divine love. To say he's in a better place is not an understatement. He's happy, blissful even. It's as exciting as winning the lottery. He goes through his life review, understanding and comprehending the lessons his experiences he had in life. He makes peace with himself and crosses right on over into bliss. That are aware, however, that those of us left behind are having a much harder time dealing with what we perceive as a loss. Because we, the living, think the person is gone to a galaxy far, far away, our dead loved ones try to get our attention. Let us know they're just fine and playing bingo in the sky with their old dog. Bingo. For them, it's like looking through one-way glass where they can see us, but we can't see them. So they wave their arms, stomp up and down, scream at us, but we can't hear them. How frustrating do you think that is for them? So next, they try getting our attention in other ways. They send us dreams telling us they're fine. We discount those as the house settling or the kids running amok. They waft specific smells our way. Does anyone smell freesia? Did Grandma like freesia? Weird. They put significant songs on the radio, drop change in front of our feet, making the rocking chair rock by itself, and we chalk it all up to imagination and wishful thinking. So finally, they just sit and hold us with the incorporeal arms, trying to comfort us physically without a physical body to do it with. And they listen. They listen to our prayers and eulogies, our anger, our sadness, and they watch. They watch us cry, sleep, cry some more. They watch us slowly put our lives back together. They feel joy when we have a victory over our grief, but they're also spending time getting known. I'm sorry, I had to roll that up. I don't have my glasses on. They watch us slowly put our lives together. They're also spending time getting to know the other side and reconnecting with people there. They realize that no one really dies, we simply transform. This is nothing to be sad about. It's something wonderful. If the living could remember that the dead are not truly gone, we could lessen our grief. We grieve over our loss, over the loss of their presence in our lives, and yes, that is a real loss. But it's not a complete, never going to see you again loss. Honor the dead. Share your joy and love with them. Cast love energy their way and try to feel the love energy they're casting back at you. A medium can help you reconnect, but a medium is unnecessary. If you open your heart and remember that dead don't leave us, so they don't miss us, remember them and cherish your memories. You can keep the connection alive by talking to them and acknowledging their presence at special family events. They're still there. You can still talk to them, and they still see you and care about you. They know you're sad, but they know life is an amazing gift, an experience, and they want you to enjoy to the fullest extent possible. When you're ready to move on with living your life, you will see your loved ones once again. In love after death, not life after death, but love after death, I think that this is something that I can get behind a little bit better than looking at a green-eyed French boy looking back at me through a window. Events that have happened to me in my life, and this has personally happened to me. I had a friend of mine pass a few days ago. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm laying in bed. I just get incredibly hot. I'm having menopause hot flash. Okay, and for those of you who are men my age, who have women my age going through menopause, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I was just sweating and could not sleep, could not find any way to get comfortable. Everything was going wrong. I just said, heck, I got to get up. I got up out of bed. I walked into the living room, sit down in the easy chair, saying, what the heck am I doing? The phone rings. Phone rings. It is my stepdaughter calls me up and tells me that her mom passed. Why did I get woken up out of bed at that time? It hasn't happened before or since. Why did I get woken up in that way? I don't know. Why did I come out and sit in the living room rather than just roll over, open up the window, roll over, go back to bed, go back to sleep? I don't know. Did it happen? Yes. Do I honestly believe that it was my friend who passed that woke me up? I believe it enough that when I talked to her daughter at the funeral, I told her what happened, and she smiled. She said, I thought there was a reason you answered the phone. And so, yeah, I think that when the dead pass and they are loved and they love, that yes, they're looking at all the wonderful new stuff that's going on, but think of it like this. You go on a 2-week vacation to the vacation spot of your dreams, okay? You're on vacation from your day-to-day life, and you leave your family and your daughters and your sons and your friends. You leave them back in good old hometown USA, and you go off to some exotic place. You go to Cancun, Mexico, where there's white, scrunchy sand, beautiful women wearing macrame bikinis, and everyone's covered in oil, and it seems like every time you turn around, someone's handing you a drink with a double shot of tequila in it.
And the little umbrella.
That's really...
Don't forget the little umbrella. You can't have a drink on the beach without the little umbrella in it.
And so you're sitting there on the beach in Cancun, but then you stop and you think, hey, I wonder how it's going with my son. He had a test that he had to take. I wonder how it's going with my daughter. She just got a promotion. I wonder if my neighbor mowed his lawn because it was getting pretty shaggy. You know, you still have things back home that are on that beach with you. And if you die and you're on that side, you're in that beautiful place, you're still thinking about those people that are back home. No matter how wonderful it is, just because Cancun is wonderful doesn't mean your son didn't have to take a test and your daughter didn't get a promotion. See what I mean?
Right.
So when you talk about love after death, life after death, love after death, I believe that those who pass still love you. And how they show it to you, or how they can affect you, or how they can get across that they're still with you at certain times in different places, I think that's up to their imagination, up to the ones who are past their imagination, and how receptive we are on this side as to look for these signs, to try and find these evidences of them being around. The numerology now is playing this thing with the digital clocks. If you're at 3:33, you're supposed to make a wish. If you look at the clock and it says 3:33 or 11:11, all the numbers are the same. And it's just a funny way to try and validate that there's something, you can do something. You can have some effect on your spiritual life. And I think that just admitting that you're trying to have some sort of an effect on your spiritual life allows the people on the other side that small window of opportunity to pass along their love to you, to pass along sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's angst, sometimes it's just really frustration. Man, I had everything done that I wanted to do with my life, except I didn't plant the zinnias. So they try and get, their daughter or their son to go plant the zinnias to finish the floral arrangement that they were building. Or in the case of what we talked about last week about Dad the Jokester, okay? He had everything that he wanted to do. He was done, He came back and just checked on people, and he had this one thing he always wanted to have, is when you go to bed at night, lock the door. So what did he do? He found the door was open. He went over there. He opened up the door. Freeze the house out. Lock the damn door now.
Right.
And so it was good. And Dad the Jokester, he got his last joke in.
See, I think that our loved ones do, and our friends, our close friends do, when they pass, try to communicate with us, but we're just not open to it.
Absolutely.
In a lot of cases, that's, and you may notice little oddities that, may remind you of them, and that's probably them trying to get, in contact with you, and you're just not, you don't allow yourself to, what am I looking for here?
Accept.
Well, you don't allow your mind to relax enough to accept what they're saying.
Absolutely.
And it's sad because I think a lot of times, our loved ones are there. They just, and they're trying to show you that they're there. We're here watching over you, but you're just too close-minded to notice.
When we are indoctrinated into our real world life, okay, the things that we have to do, we're children, okay, and you can't stay awake all night because you have to get up and go to school in the morning, right? And if you think there's a monster under your bed, and your parents come in and say, there's no monster under your bed, they go grab the flashlight and they show it underneath the bed. See, there's nothing there but dust bunnies, okay? Or if there's a monster in the closet, there's no such thing as monsters. And they throw open the door and they take the child in there and they show them, they move all the clothes around. There's no monster in there. Now go to bed. Stop with that. That's all your wild imagination.
Right.
It is at that point in time. It is at that point when parents give to their children that list of things that is accepted and is not accepted. And it goes on through our life, through every day of our life.
Yep.
We see things and we say it's not there because people will think I'm weird.
Well, you close it out after it's drilled into your head enough.
Right. I have a friend of mine who knows where there's a spirit that's at an intersection. Okay? And this woman died at this intersection, her husband, and she died in a car accident. And every time he goes through that intersection, he gets the heebie-jeebies. Okay? But he won't do anything about it because he's afraid other people are going to look at him and say, oh. No, he's not worried that other people. He's not worried that other people are going to. He's worried about the cops getting the guys in the white coats to come drag him off to an asylum somewhere. So you see, I just now have proven that this thing about we behave not in the way that we feel we should behave, but we behave. Our behavior is dictated by the people around us who have influence over us, as the cops would have influence over the guys with the I love me jacket. You know the I love me jacket, the one that goes like this? Yeah, I love me. So tying these two shows together works really, really good for how we as people in the paranormal, as we sit here and Roger, once you put this out on the internet, it's there forever and ever, right? So,
Right.
so maybe those guys in the blue suits are going to come over and introduce you to the guys in the white suits, and then you get the new jacket and the new ensemble, and
Whole new room and
you'll
free
be
room
styling.
board
You'll
and
be
all that.
styling. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if you truly were worried about that, Roger, you wouldn't be doing this. And I know that you have that spirituality in
Well, the
you.
thing about it is that I can talk about it on here. They're not going to come lock me up for talking about it on here. But if I went up there and
Uh-huh.
I'm standing there in the middle of an intersection in town where they're sitting there with their little blue lights flashing, going, "Come here, boy.
Yeah.
We got somebody wants to
Roger,
meet you."
who said you have to be standing in the middle of the four-way? You know, you don't have
The
to be
point
standing in the middle
is,
of the four-way.
you get my point. You
Yeah,
know,
I do. I
I,
do. And it's just a lot of fun to tease you, my friend. I'm
I
just
know,
teasing you.
I know.
I'm teasing you, but I know that you have had things happen to you. I've had other things happen to you. That's just the most recent that has happened to me. You've had things happen to you that you just, there's no way you can prove it to the person who's standing right beside you, but you smell that pipe tobacco that great grandpa used to have. Or
Right.
you wake up in the morning and you smell, my mama used to make baked beans. Okay. She used to pressure cook her and she would make baked beans. And when she made baked beans, man, the whole world was a happy place because they were just so good. All right. And she'd be making those baked beans. You wake up in the morning, just, man. And it's that smell I associate with love and comfort and things that are good. And my mama has come and visited me from time to time, and she didn't bring flowers or perfumes or anything like that. There was that smell of baked beans, and I could smell it, and I knew my mama was around. And this is kind of scary too for me, because my mama comes around when she knows I'm going to need help, when she knows something's up, and before the sun sets, something's going to be happening that mama has to be here to help me with. All right, and uh, she has indicated me when my son died. She was there with me in a hospital room, and when my daughter died, I was on the way to the hospital, and I could smell that scent, and so I know she's there to help me. I know she's there because she loves me, but sometimes I'm really afraid because when I smell that, I know something bad is up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, she has come to me in other ways, but she hasn't come to me under the smell of the baked beans. Okay, she has been with me in things that have happened, and immediately I sense her around me, but she doesn't use that other way of talking to me. So we have worked out. My mama and I have worked out a very limited form of communication, her side to my side. Now, here's something that if you believe that first part to be true about her coming when something's going to happen, then if you accept that she's there with me when something bad's going to happen, there's got to be some sort of precognition from her side to my side, because she knows when something's going to happen before it happens. And she comes to me and she warns me and something's up. And then I know that before the sunset, before something's going to happen, before I get the message, she knows that it's going to happen. So she's there with me. She is like that girl on the couch who said that she felt that the couch beside her got very cold. Okay. When my mama is with me right beside me, I feel open hand. I can feel her close because it's a warm yellow feeling. Okay. If you believe in auras, I feel a yellow aura around where my mama is. So people can love after death. And I think that's because our love doesn't stop when somebody dies. Our love persists as long as we choose to have it persist. So
I know when my grandmother I know when she's near because she knows the most favorite thing that I loved about, back when her and my grandfather were living, and he would sit at the kitchen table and play his French harp, and she would sing gospel songs while she washed dishes.
Oh man.
And I loved that. I loved to hear her sing and him play. And that's when, because every time she's around me, that memory will pop into my head just out of the
Right.
blue.
Right.
So I know that's a way that she lets me know that she's still around.
That's beautiful, Roger.
And my granddad used to smoke a pipe, and he used tobacco. It's called Captain Black, and it was.
Okay.
I've smelled that pipe tobacco,
Right.
and that's when I know he's around. So, I mean, they have ways to let you know if you're just open to it. You just gotta, and that's the problem. Like I said, is most people aren't open to it. Or they don't allow themselves to relax enough to realize what's going on around them. They're too busy trying to make that fortune and live the what is it, the good life.
The American dream.
Unfortunately, since I'm poor, I don't have to worry about living the good life, so I have time to relax and enjoy that stuff.
Well, you see, now you can go and you can say, hey, listen, Miss, whoa, you almost tricked me into it. I'm not going to talk politics. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious.
Shows like these are good to do. They're fun because, you get to actually, you get to enjoy what is around you. You have time to bring it out in the open, and other people, I wish that they could relax and realize that, their loved ones are still there, and they do little things that, to let them know, and they just don't see it. Like, the pipe smoke and the memory of her singing, and everything like that. Just, I know they're there. And, like I said, people get so worked up in life that they don't slow down to smell the roses. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that there is an acceptance. There is a change that's happening in the world. I never convinced my children there was a Santa Claus, even though my daughter, to this day, will bring out a 5-point plan to say that there is a Santa Claus. But I raised her right, and I believe that there is there's an awakening that's happening, and I think that people are getting in touch with the higher power. They're getting in touch. They're getting in touch with God. They're getting in touch with Allah. They're getting in touch with spiritualism. They're getting in touch with the moon goddess. They're getting in touch with themselves. Okay, where I can sit down and I can have a conversation with a man in Tennessee and I'm in Massachusetts, and we can talk about how he feels his grandma and his grandpa around him, and how his grandma sang gospel, and how my mama and I used to sit and push water around on a blue blanket. Okay, we used to just our mind, not using our fingers and pushing it around. We would push it. And there's a spiritualism, and you know what? I can accept that your grandma, when she sang those gospels, she touched something inside you that woke you up. It awoken. You were awoken, okay, to the spirituality that your grandma was sharing with you.
When she sang like that, that's the times when she was the happiest. You know what I mean?
Right. And did you feel happy too?
And that's what I loved about it. That made me feel good,
See, now that's magic, Roger. Magic is not Hollywood magic. Magic is not throwing lightning bolts from my hand. Magic is not pointing at the ground and making the earth shoot forth trees and like that. That's Hollywood. Magic is being able to walk down the street and look at somebody and say, good morning, sir. How was your day? and to say it with meaning, to say that you want to know. And if the guy wants to tell me how his day is, stop and listen to how his day is. And that's magic, Roger. Because that person who you probably don't know his first name wants to tell you something about his life, and that's magic. Because he gave that to you. And we you say you can't stop and see the magic. People don't stop long enough to see that people from the other side can love after death, but they do. We just have to be open to accept that it is actually there. It's spiritualism. Spiritualism is making such a huge surge right now with this investigation about the paranormal, because we're finding that the things we were told that were not in the closet, things we were told that were not under the bed, and the things that we were supposed to fear because they had names, that we named them. We called them devils and demons and evil and succubuses and incubuses and things like this. And
Carry on there for a second. I got to
I
answer.
like that. I like that. That's a great phone. Well, Roger, I don't know if you can still hear me, but it is 8 o'clock, and it's 8 o'clock here, and I'm going to have to call this show to an end. And my involvement with the show to the end. If anyone else wants to stay here with Roger and talk about these things, please feel free to call in at any time. I don't have the screen up where I can see what happened in the chat room today. I hope that people showed up, or if you do watch this, that you have a good time and that you relax and allow your spirituality, however you choose to define it with words, dictate how you look at the people around you and how you look at the world as it really is. Thank you very much, and good night to all.
If any of y'all are still here, I'm sorry. I just had a call about some people having some paranormal issues and were asking for some help. So I've been on the phone for the last few minutes, but glad everybody came. Hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll be back on Friday when Cheryl Carter has a little story of her own she's going to tell, and we're going to discuss that. So thanks everybody for coming. We appreciate it. Okay, well, I had to go. Okay. Anyway, we appreciate it. We'll see y'all then. Thanks for coming.